Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explain series. So I went through the comment section yesterday. There were 3-4 prominent doubts. One is regarding the Azerbaijan-Armenia peace deal. So don't worry, once there are more concrete updates, we will explain you the peace deal all over again. But for your doubts, I highly recommend that you watch the video once again, you replay it, and if you have any specific doubts with regards to that, I will be free to answer them in the next video. A quick recap of it is that, see, Armenia and Azerbaijan had been in conflict since 1990s. In 1994, Armenia conquered Nagorno-Karabakh and the surrounding regions. This year, from September onwards, Azerbaijan attacked the Armenian areas of Nagorno-Karabakh and surrounding, and they were able to capture them. Now Armenia has been able to reach a ceasefire with Azerbaijan only with regards to holding out to Stepanakert, which is the capital of Nagorno-Karabakh, and the Lianchin corridor. Rest everything they have to give back to Azerbaijan. So the peace deal is favoring Azerbaijan this year. This is a quick recap. We will link in the description of when we had explained the peace deal all over in depth. The next question was with regards to G20. So we'll be discussing G20 today. I'll then answer those questions, so wait for it, okay? The next question was with regards to definition of radicalization. So on radicalization, the update is that the committee will discuss and analyze whether there has been radicalization and whether it is of any specific consequence for the country and how we can counter radicalization. So once the report is out, then we will have actual details of how they have defined radicalization. So till now, the term radicalization means that someone who has been asked in the sense of a more violent upturn. Even if you believe in something, let's say I believe in making India a more equal country, but to ensure equality, what I go and kill any and everyone who thinks is creating an equal society, or is, let's say if I am middle class, I go and kill all the people who are from lower class and upper class because I only want a middle class equal society. So then when I'm going to use violence to ensure my belief, then probably I am a radical, okay? Or for example, in the sense of more religious affairs, I believe that religion A is supreme, so I go and kill everyone else from religion B, C, D. So then I am a radical, okay? When you are using unfair means to impose your will on any and everyone, then you are a radical, okay? How the committee defines radicalization in India, once that report is out, we will be discussing it. But from whatever we had discussed that day, the report will not be out in 2 years time, okay? So it's not something that is immediately relevant, but as it was in news and this concept will come across somehow or the other, that is why I touched upon it, but not in depth. Then there was another doubt with regards to specifically the love jihad law, okay? So don't focus too much on political matters, okay? They are not relevant from your CLAT perspective. Political matters are relevant in understanding the principal ideas. So when I had explained to you love jihad, what I had highlighted specifically was freedom of speech and freedom of choice, because they are your constitutional rights. They matter in your exam, not politics around it. Similarly, with regards to polls in Jammu and Kashmir for the district councils, politics with regards to that, who is saying whom, what nomenclature is being attached to whom, is not of any consequence for you all. So don't worry about political news. And I will reiterate now that, see, this series is to help you reduce your time with regards to going through the newspaper. I cover everything that is relevant from the newspaper's perspective on your daily current affairs. So there is absolutely no need for you to read other newspapers at all. Once you are watching this series, you don't need to waste your time reading other newspapers trying to catch information, because I will be covering everything that is there on your daily current affairs. You don't need anything else. If you want to read an editorial in depth, then you are free to do that, but you don't have to waste your time going through other newspapers or trying to collect other information. This is your one-stop place for all daily current affairs, okay? Don't worry about anything else. Now, moving on with that, on today's newspaper is November 23, okay? The first news uh, that is of relevance for us is that Kerala has passed a new ordinance under which they have given more power to the police to prosecute anyone who is, as per the legislation, asking for more offensive or saying something that is offensive to the government or to try to stoke. So, this is an amendment to specific laws, section 118A, and also the IT Act. So, but the reason why this is in conflict is that you are in your Article 19th right under the Indian Constitution, you are free to even criticize and offend the government, okay? There are various judgments of the Supreme Court to say that. So, this ordinance is a part to curtail the freedom of expression of people. So, that is why this is in news. The opposition parties in Kerala have condemned it, the governor of Kerala has condemned it. So, that is why this becomes important. The principle becomes important, the ordinance doesn't. The principle is Article 19 and your right to criticize and offend. That is the principle here. So, remember always when I am discussing things, the political context is how the principle comes into news, and that is what will matter for your exam. So, the principle is again Article 19. Okay, then on the front page there is nothing relevance for us from any principal perspective. On the second page also there is more COVID cases rising, night curfews have returned in various cities, there is a rise or spike in other small states which had been which did not have high COVID cases till now. For example, Rajasthan, Delhi is already on a high with regards to COVID cases post the festive season. So that means that, see, people were not following social distancing during the festive time period. Then on the right hand side, police have charge sheeted. So a charge sheet has been filed against 2 ex-JNU students, not relevant from CLAT perspective, okay? Not relevant. Political news, any update on a specific news is not relevant from a CLAT perspective. Then CM warns against circulation of videos, violence, not relevant. Man gets life sentence for rape bid on a centenarian, again not relevant. These crime reports or something like this is not relevant from the CLAT perspective, okay? So, avoid political news. So, yesterday again in the one of the comment section there was a news about, do we need to go in depth to the magazines that are attached to specific newspapers. I had discussed one specific environment topic that had come in one of the magazines on a particular day. Everything else is not relevant. The reason why we are doing this video series is for you to cut down or going through what is relevant. I am going to help you determine what is relevance and nothing else. So going through specific magazines on a day-to-day basis is not your work. We are doing that for you. So don't worry, we will be covering it, okay? Then on the editorial page, okay, the main editorial talks about the vaccine prioritization strategy. So day before yesterday we had discussed how Dr. Harshvardhan, our health minister, had talked about their India's prioritization strategy for vaccination. This is a more in-depth analysis of what we need to do even within that, okay, not relevant from CLAT's perspective at all. It is just basically trying to tell how we need to determine subcategories within criterion groups, let's say health workers, then 65 above, how should we determine them, who are more needy people. Then it is also talking about the idea, say, state is distributing vaccines, but what about people who want to pay more to get it first? Let's say someone who is 40 plus only and is not under the vaccine strategy but has loads of money to throw. So can the private sector give vaccination to those people? So then the article says that yes, private sector is free to do that and government should be allowing that. Okay, so those are things not relevant. It's a more policy argument, okay. On the left hand side, there is peaceful possibilities again with regards to elections in Jammu and Kashmir. So that, see, the elections to the District Development Council is a part to begin the democratic process in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and that this is a way of people who want to be with India should come together, or that it is a method to begin a dialogue and address concerns. The reason why democracy is a principle that is relevant is because people's concerns come at top of it, and that political parties have to surround those concerns. So that is why it is saying that, see, election process happening is a very good thing. Then on the next editorial is pressure and punishment. There have been, day before yesterday we had discussed the news of how Pakistan has convicted Jaish-e-Mohammed's Hafiz Saeed, and that says that, see, international pressure does work, but how effective it is and how much can it do is still a limitation, because, see, Pakistan may have convicted one person, but then still there are hundreds of them that are still there. So blacklisting Pakistan and other strong continued measure is important for such states to get their act together. Again, these are two political affairs, okay, not relevant from CLAT perspective. I give a brief overview of editorials just to say ki, see, this is what it is and that is why it is not relevant, so that you don't worry that, see, we are missing out on something, okay. This editorial is something we'll cover at depth at a later point, that no minister, the trade agreement pitch is flawed. This is about economic affairs. I will be discussing this in a little bit more depth. Then on the left hand side, a leaf from Stacey Abraham's book. This is about how democratic process, when we include more people, democracy becomes more fulfilling. That, see, this year America has recorded highest voter turnout after a century, and the reason why is one of this, that there have been organizations such as Stacey Abrams who have been working to get more people their right to vote and ensuring that this happens. So this is an analysis of how she did it and what India can do to make right to vote more inclusive. That, for example, during the lockdown, one of the most prominent problem was with regards to migrants, that when they migrate from one place to another, they are not able to vote. Let's say someone migrates from Bihar to Maharashtra. So when elections happen in Bihar, he is not able to go back, but he is working in Maharashtra but is not a voter there. So those kinds of right to vote, those are lost votes that need to be included. Okay, so the concept of lost votes is what is relevance for us from this. On the right hand side is how we have to make technology help you. So this is about how newspapers have now started coming with newsletters for specific people. The series that we are doing at Law Prep is also something like this. We are editing the noise to help you all get tailor-made news that is required for your CLAT preparation. Everything else is just noise that you have to ignore. That is why this series is something that this editorial also states, that, see, we are editing stuff that you don't need, and that is why this becomes tailor-made, because if you get too much information, you will get overwhelmed. And as you say, he highlights how Umberto Eco's example, that when he got 10,000 citations, then he became paralyzed, but when he had 4 or 5, then he was able to analyze them in depth. This is exactly what we are doing for you. We are cut shorting things that you are not required and just telling you in crux in 30 minutes every day what is relevant for you. Then on the left hand side is a fake messiah political analysis of Asauddin Owaisi's politics and how it is not inclusionary but exclusionary, not relevant. On the political news, again, on national news, nothing relevant. Then there is an interview of Andhra Pradesh CM. Okay, he is talking about how we need to have more infrastructure at the border of Arunachal Pradesh. And that is it, because we had recently discussed how China is upping its infrastructure on the borders of Arunachal Pradesh and India needs to do so. One specific thing that he's talking about is more industrialization in the region. But the conflict that comes across is industrialization versus sustainable development, because Arunachal Pradesh is a sensitive ecosystem. The greenery there is sensitive, and large scale industrialization may result in loss of that. Okay. Then there is a G20 conversation of statements of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on day 2 of the summit. We will be discussing this in depth. Okay. Then there is news of 132 countries attend a global meet. This is also we'll discuss. Rest everything for us from a point of view is not relevant. From this particular news, two things stand out, okay, for you. Just make a note of that. That is it. Names, only names become relevant. That the second edition of India, Thailand and Singapore's trilateral naval exercise. So a naval exercise between India, Thailand and Singapore is known as SITMEX 20, okay. This is just the name that is relevant for you. And then India, Singapore bilateral maritime exercise SIMBEX 20, 27th edition. These two names become relevant for you, okay. Rest everything is just noise. Moving on again, see, these are magazines. Like I had told you, they are not relevant from your preparation. If anything will be relevant, I will be covering it, okay. Moving on from this international politics, again there is news about US election. A lot of you still have doubts with regards to US election. I have tried to address them as and when, but I'm still telling you that once more concrete news is there, we'll come back to this topic and address it at length again. Then there is one news that is relevant, one name. Mala Adiga will be the policy director of Jill Biden. Jill Biden is the first lady, wife of Joe Biden, president-elect. She will be assisting, she will be the policy director for Jill Biden. Mala Adiga is an Indian American born in America only, of Indian origin. Her parents have Indian origins. They were immigrants from India. That is it. That is all that is relevant, because Jill Biden wants to continue with her work of community college and trying to teach at places or communities that don't have access to education. So the name becomes relevant. That's all. Then there is a small news that Ethiopia is giving 72 hours to surrender for Tigray. The conflict in Ethiopia that we had covered. So once there is more specific update, what happens to it, we will be discussing this at length, okay. Now, again on sports level, nothing concrete for us, no specific records. So now let's dive in, okay. Three important news for us. So on the day 2 of G20, one specific doubt that you all were having was, what is G20 and what is it relevant? See, G20 is a body where world leaders of 20 biggest economies of the world, so big that these 20 countries have 90% of the world's GDP, okay. They are that big, and that is why this grouping is irrelevant. And then it's just a place where they discuss, tell what they think about different scenarios and how they can be addressed. So different people talk, and then different leaders are talking, and then how can we address them is what they discuss, and whether they're able to take forward is something we have to keep in mind in. Okay, on the side I've stated that, see, G20 summit, on the sides of it different summits also take place. So on day 2, there was a side summit with the heading of Safeguarding the Planet, a Circular Economy Approach, at which Prime Minister Narendra Modi was speaking. He highlighted how India is not only fulfilling its 2015 Paris Agreement abiding laws, that things that India needs to do to reduce its carbon consumption, but is actually exceeding those expectations, which he says is more relevant because everything that we do for a more sustainable growth repays us in the long term. For example, today we can see that the cost of high industrialization at a fast pace based on coal is coming back to bite us with regards to air pollution. Then now we have to spend more to ensure that pollution doesn't cost us lives. So if we had adopted a more sustainable method at the first hand or pehle se, then it could have helped us not consume our time now. So that is why he says ki, see, the heading also makes more sense. A circular economy approach, that, see, these things, if we don't correct them today, will come back to bite us tomorrow. So rather than doing something wrong today, let's correct things from the first go, is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi is highlighting. He highlighted how India has replaced all their other bulbs with LED bulbs at public places, which has reduced carbon consumptions emissions by 38 million tons. That replacing all street lights with LED lights has reduced that much. So these are things. One new update, yesterday I talked about India would be hosting the 2022 G20 summit. Yet today it was, on the second day it was announced that we will be hosting it now in 2023. 1 year later. 2022 was the year when we attained 75 years of our independence, but keeping in mind with the pandemic and probably that the summit might not happen, India has decided that they will now host the 2023 summit of G20. Okay, this is the update. On the next news is 132 countries attend a global meet. Now, what is this meet? Who organized it? And a little bit of history of it. Okay, so it is the 4th global conference on criminal finances, a global conference attended by 132 countries and representatives of 2000 representatives. It is the pretext of this was a working group on cryptocurrencies and money laundering established in 2016. Okay, this was a working group of professionals, representatives from industry, countries. The concern was cryptocurrencies and money laundering. FATF, Financial Action Task Force, is also about money laundering, but this is more specific also to cryptocurrencies and how cryptocurrencies should not be used. Now, cryptocurrencies are currencies, digital currencies that are based on the blockchain technology, and they are a methodology to encrypt and hide the identity of the transactions or people who are making the transaction, but are more democratic in the sense of everyone who is using these currencies is able to keep a check on them. So there is less chance of theft taking place. So for example, when we have hard money, let's say I have money in my wallet and then I take it from the bank, but someone steals that money and then goes away. So that money can now not be traced unless I am able to hold that person. Even if I am able to hold that person, he may have bought goods from it. But in a cryptocurrency format, everyone can keep a tap of it, and then there is no scope for money being lost because everyone is in the same system. There is no way that someone can escape the system, that money gets from bank to me but someone else can also take it. So that is a theft that is taking place. In cryptocurrencies it is not possible, okay, because everyone has them. The reason why this becomes important, 2-3 things become important: the concept of blockchain, cryptocurrencies, okay, and then the organizations that organize this, okay, Interpol, Europol and Basel Institute on Governance. Basel norms that we keep talking about on banking reforms come from this institution. Interpol, Nirav Modi, Vijay Mallya, other Mehul Choksi are economic fugitives. They are issued Interpol warrants of different color or different type for their offences on criminal transactions, right? Criminal financial transactions that assist in criminal activities. So this is a conference on how countries can correct their financial institutions, make them more secure to avoid such things from happening. Criminal finances or crime related to finances may not happen. So this becomes important. What are the organizations, what was the conference, and what is the idea? Cryptocurrencies, blockchain, money laundering, another organization for it is FATF. So those are things that become relevant. Now moving on with the last bit, which is the editorial, okay. Now this editorial becomes relevant for us from two perspectives. Okay, this is talking about two principles, which is one, deindustrialization, and then employment challenge. India, as you know, has very high percentage of unemployment in the country today, almost 23 to 25%. That 1/4 of our population who wants to work and is not able to find work. And the reason, second reason is the reason why we have high unemployment is because we have deindustrialization. We are not producing more industries. More industries are not there in our country, so there is no place for people to go and work. Now, Pooja Mehra is an economist. She has a published book in the name of The Lost Decade from 2008 to 2018, how India missed its chance for high growth, okay. Now, she says that the reason why this is happening, her analysis is based on a new paper that has been published, India's Inward Return, or let's say return, by Arvind Subramanian and Soumitra Chatterjee, two Indian economists again. She says the reason why all this is happening is also because of India's fetish or an approach of strong rupee. Now this makes important for you all is because it talks about import substitution. India, as you know, has been imposing high duty on imports, and Prime Minister has talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat and being vocal for local. But the reason why precursor to this, India has been buying, let's say, more imported goods is because our rupee has been artificially been strengthened, and that is why things that are outside our country, import services are cheaper. That it is sometimes far more cheaper to, let's say, go to Hong Kong, Bangkok or Hong Kong than, let's say, to go to any remote area in India itself. So people would rather go to a different country than travel within India, because, let's say, facilities are better outside and the costing of it is actually cheaper. So people prefer to go outside. Similarly, education in India, there are not enough educational institutions, so people prefer to go and take education outside, or the quality of education is better outside. But all this is also possible because people are able to afford that, and that is why the people are preferring imports. And the reason she says is that our rupee is not competitive. This is based on exchange rate mechanism. Okay, so those things become important. Terms such as deindustrialization, employment challenge, exchange rate, that how based on demand and supply, different currencies, value of different currencies is weighed to value of another country, and that rupee needs to be depreciated for our exports to become competitive. If rupee is stronger, our exports are expensive in other countries, so people don't buy it. When our exports are not rising, more industries will not be set up in India. When more industries are not set up in India, there are less jobs in our country. When there is less jobs in our country, high unemployment. High unemployment means less growth means less wealth and more poverty. So it is a circle that is happening, and she says that it starts from the rupee being artificially stronger, that India at the end of it is still competing with countries smaller in size, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Indonesia. But in comparison to them, our currency is stronger, our exports are expensive, and so people prefer to buy exports of those countries instead of our countries. She analyzes how, see, Vietnam's export percentage in world economy is 1.75%, India's is 1.7%. So India, despite being such a large country, still has such low percentage of exports. So she says that unless we make our exports cheaper, we will not be able to reach high level of growth and all of these principles, that these concerns that she is highlighting. The the reason why we cover this editorial is because of this circular role that I told you, and then that these concepts also become relevant from general awareness perspective. Because see, whenever, let's say, we are discussing, yesterday we had discussed RBI and loan moratorium. So moratoriums is about non-performing assets of banks, businesses taking money but not able to pay back the banks, and that affects lending power of the economy, less credit, less businesses. So these concepts are interlinked. Economy as a concept is complex but interlinked. So that is why highlighting or understanding these problems, these terms become relevant. So the editorial in general, or there is high unlikeliness that, see, a question about this editorial will come, okay, but these things will keep on coming over the year, okay. These concepts will become important, and that is why understanding the interlinking of them becomes important for your preparation. Because see, only when you know these concepts, once, if let's say a new passage in the exam also comes, you will be able to understand the interlinking, and that will help you, okay. So this is it from today. Thank you so much. If you have any specific doubts, put them down in the comment section. We understand your concerns, and we will put certain specific videos or conflicts that we have discussed previously in the description, or link them in the video at the top left corner. So understanding that, thank you so much. Keep watching the series. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it further with your other friends who are also preparing, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the update for tomorrow. Thank you.